To the Pitcher Nailed Down. I'm Jason Gilbo, Jake Gilbo 11. With me is Russell Clay at Russell J. Clay. Taking a look at FanDuel and DraftKings pitching for tonight's slate. And you have your Jake Arrieta up top. You don't have any other real Tier 1 options, but there are some solid price guys kind of just below him.
Definitely, bro. Let's take a good look at this slate, bro.
And if you haven't noticed, if you haven't watched the earlier two pods, Russ has been jacked up on caffeine energy drinks since about what would you say, 7 this morning?
I will say, if you do comment, I will take your advice. One day someone was like, Russ, you're looking a little groggy or looking a little probably ugly, probably gross. And he was like, you need to pick it up. And I was like, I took a look at myself in the mirror that day and I said, you know what? I do need to pick it up. So I've been hyped up the last few days. So I'm ready to knock this pitcher pod out.
Let's take a look at pitching, and two quality arms kind of come into play that they're certainly in play on tonight's slate, and it's the Braves and Phillies. Matt Whistler taking on Aaron Nola. Over under a 7, Philly big -170 favorites, and I think Nola is my favorite cash game option here. One, because he gives you a little bit of a discount from Arrieta, still a heavy favorite, also going up against a Braves team that just dreadful against right-handed pitching. They rank 29th in WOBA.
Yeah, I mean, again, we talk about this pretty regularly, but the Braves and the Padres, any type of last 3-year statistic, they're basically the worst if you look it up. So if you ever want to fill a narrative for those teams, just go back to 2014. But anyway, yeah, Nola, this is automatic pretty much. He's not too expensive. I mean, he's a little expensive on DraftKings, but nothing too crazy for what his upside is. So yeah, I really love him, especially in cash tonight.
Yeah, I mean, he just brings a lot to the table that I like. I mean, a 56% ground ball rate this season, 28.6% strikeout rate. I mean, those two numbers combined are just absolutely out of this world. And I just think, he leads this slate in Sierra. I think he's the easy way to go there, just an at-home matchup against the Braves.
Now with Matt Whistler on two pitcher sites, you mentioned you did something with Pomeranz a few weeks ago against Kershaw. Yep. Is Whistler enough of a value to do that against Nola, or does it not make sense at his price?
I don't think it makes sense at his price. I think with Garrett Cole, $600 more, I can just kind of spin up there.
Yeah.
And he's not. I don't think he's quite cheap enough. I mean, that was a different story, just because he was in that. I believe he was like 68 or 6,900. And you paired him up with the Kershaw, so I don't quite think Nola's that expensive for me to do that with.
Right.
But I mean, it is a strategy I think going forward that you should keep in mind.
Definitely.
But Whistler on the other side, I mean, would be an intriguing GPP option. Just kind of a swerve, 8,100. I don't mind it as a value play if you're kind of working in another top tier pitcher.
Yeah.
Just because the Phillies really aren't much better. I mean, they're in that bottom 5 in WOBA and strike out a ton, and Whistler's shown some quality upside this season.
The only issue we run into with Whistler is a guy you just mentioned and that we're going to get into pretty soon.
As far as pivoting off of him?
Yeah, as far as a guy in his same value range.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I mean, that is the next game. Rockies and Pirates. Eddie Butler, Garrett Cole. Pittsburgh -230 favorites, 7.5 over under there. Garrett Cole, I mean, he's a guy, 8,700. I like a lot. I mean, back-to-back really solid starts against two quality opponents. 7 strikeouts in each start, and has looked good. I mean, he's gone deep into games, and I mean, overall, I mean, he's had a couple up and down starts this year, but I can't argue against his price tag.
I was talking about Eddie Butler. Cole is an interesting guy. I think when I first skimmed over the slate, he initially popped out as a really nice value. I went through both the cafe values, and he popped up on both sites top 5 for this slate. So I think he's someone I'm really, really targeting tonight in both cash and tournaments. And I think he's right there with Nola for point per dollar value. So on DraftKings, I'm definitely looking at throwing them into lineups together.
Yeah, I think that's going to be my cashing strategy. I mean, you put them both together, you got about 3,800 left over at each position, and that's not a bad with all the value that's out there on tonight's slate. So I really feel, I mean, with those two arms, I really do feel comfortable fading Arrieta. I know it's against the Giants, and they just don't strike out a ton. So I think I can save some cash there.
Right.
Yeah. So Cole. I mean, you look at this Rockies team. I mean, obviously they kind of blew up last night, but overall, I mean, on the road they've been kind of struggling of late, and especially over the last 2 weeks, they've kind of revolted in their other ways of having those severe home and away splits.
Yeah, obviously you do have some worries with this Rockies team, but again, since 2014, their home away splits are unbelievable. They're last in WOBA. So definitely a trend I think should continue in at least some sense. And Cole's a pretty strong arm, so I like that for him.
Yep. Next one here, you got Indians and Red Sox, Corey Kluber versus Clay Buchholz, over under 9. Cleveland -113 favorites, and we were kind of intrigued with the price tag, obviously, of Kluber at 9K. We know his strikeout upside. I still don't think it's there on tonight's slate.
Yeah.
You just look at this Red Sox team. I mean, strikeout rate less than 20%, lead the league in WOBA against right-handed pitching. So it's really tough even at a depreciated price tag to really get behind Kluber here.
Yeah, and again, Cole's right in that range. He's just such a good pitcher that at that price you almost really want to play him. But this Red Sox offense is so strong, especially right now, that it's just not worth it.
I mean, I think maybe a deep tournament play.
Yeah,
because the strikeout rate's still there. I mean,
right.
His swinging strike rate 12.6% this year. I mean, even though the Red Sox don't strike out a ton, I still thought that price tag.
If Chase Anderson can no-hit the Cubs through 4 innings, then Kluber can probably have a pretty good outing against the Red Sox in the grand scheme of range of outcomes. But if things go according to plan, he's not, a top option tonight.
Yeah, it's still a price tag that he still needs to come out on top of, and I'm not quite sure if it's there. I mean, maybe cheaper, you take a little look at him, but still, I don't see him kind of popping up on my radar too much tonight.
Right.
And that goes for Buchholz as well. ERA over 6 this season. Going to face an Indians team that is absolutely red hot, and I am looking to take a lot of Indians bats. If you watch the FD and DK, we were Kipnis, Lindor, Rajai Davis, Santana, the works.
Yeah, Chisenhall also popped up on the cafe value, and I don't think you should be afraid of any guys in this lineup right now. They're just doing so well, scoring like 8 to 10 runs a game, and then playing against a struggling pitcher in Buchholz right now. I think that's a solid matchup.
Yeah, definitely. And next game here, you got the Rays and Tigers, Matt Andriese, Aaron Sanchez, over under of 9, Detroit -1 away favorites. Andriese is still intriguing to me as far as the GPP go. I mean, you look at this Tigers offense, they've been fairly boom or bust this year, and they do have a big 24% strikeout rate. I think I'm looking more so on FanDuel just because he's 7,400 there. DraftKings not so much because I still think Cole in that price range is where I want.
Yeah, I'm okay with Andriese as a tournament guy, but he probably wouldn't be in my first 4 to 5 lineups that I make. You know what I mean? Especially in that range, I'm gonna want to lean Cole every time. So he is a viable sort of, not necessarily a punt play, but a pivot play in tournaments tonight. But I don't think I can touch him on FanDuel.
As a one-off.
More as a SB2 on DraftKings.
Gotcha. And on the other side there, I'm not really looking at Anibal Sanchez.
Inconsistent for the upside.
Yep, definitely. And this next one here, there is rain concern, Mariners and Reds, which is kind of okay because I don't think either of these guys were on our radar anyway. Unfortunately, it takes out some good bats, but Dan Straily, Hisashi Wakuma in that ballpark, really against that Mariners offense that's heating up, and still the Reds are not the greatest, but they still have some threats to kind of give a pitcher some fits. So with everything kind of into consideration, it's kind of just an easy fade.
Imagine if you had like a green screen behind you and it was just the weather and you just became a weatherman right now. That'd be awesome. So kind of not too excited about this game after hearing about the weather, but I mean, if for some reason it does play, you are obviously looking at Cano, Cruz, Seager as really strong stack options.
Yeah, definitely. And this next one here, Brewers and Mets. Steven Matz versus Willie Peralta. Mets minus 215 favorites, over under 7.5. Mets would be a strong option on tonight's slate, but from what Terry Collins said, the Mets manager, they're going to be a little bit conservative with his arm. I don't think you're going to see him pitch deep into the game, which is kind of concerning at the price tag. I think if that news came out and he was in that mid 8,000 range, I'd be like, okay, I can maybe stomach it and feel if he cruises through those innings. But he's 9,800, over 10K on DraftKings. That news just kind of puts me off of him altogether.
Because if he gets in any trouble and that pitch count starts going up, you're looking at an early night for him. So you at least want to get that potential of a win. It is a good matchup, but yeah, probably a fade at that price. And obviously on the other side there, we're looking to stack at least the lefties against Peralta, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, he's been dreadful.
Yeah. So
next one here, you got Nationals and Marlins. Tanner Roark versus Just Nicolino. 8.5 over under. Washington minus 132. These pitchers on a 15-game slate, not too viable.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I feel about this game in general.
Yeah. It's just kind of like a bad page in the newspaper. You just, I want to see the arrest log and the obituaries. I don't care about like 2-for-1 sales at Big Y.
Which that sounds about right with this game tonight.
Anyway.
Next one here, you got the Royals and White Sox, and 7.5 over under. Chicago minus 152. 7.5 over under is a little surprising. Dylan G on the hill. I think White Sox is in a favorable spot. I mean, Jose Quintana has been absolutely dominant this season. Going up against the Royals team that doesn't strike out a ton at his price, I'm not really too favorable at that price tag.
Yeah. Okay. Are we cool with Alonzo G jokes today, or should I be more serious starting now?
I think the Alonzo G you should put that one to bed. I think you should retire that one in the last pod.
Oh, okay. Well, I was just gonna say, like, I could see him in the stands. They like cut to the crowd, and he's just standing there in the corner. Like
that's what he does. That's what he does in his basketball.
Yeah, like you would in a basketball. Yeah. Okay. Quintana, I'm okay with him tonight. I think in terms of the mid-range options, I kind of like their value a little more, but obviously you have to like Quintana in that spot. You just worry about the upside against the Royals and their lack of sort of striking out.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm kind of disencouraged with him at the price tag.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, as for G on the other side, no, he's cheap, but there's no way.
Yeah, I kind of like this White Sox team, even though they've been sort of mediocre this year against a really weak arm. I think they could really have some upside.
Yeah, as far as offense goes, I mean, they're kind of up and down.
Mm-hmm.
So 8-10 here, you got Blue Jays and Twins, over under of 8. Aaron Sanchez take on Tyler Duffy. Sanchez is an intriguing play tonight just because he's facing a heavy right-handed team. And I mean, Sanchez has been fairly tough on righties, and really, I mean, the only struggles have come against kind of those heavy lefty teams. And outside of really Mauer, I mean, that's pretty much it that you got in this Twins team. And I think in that ballpark, he could be in a favorable spot. And at the price tag, I definitely don't hate it.
Yeah, no, I like that call. Again, I don't think it's too intimidating of a lineup to go up against, and I think there's some upside there for a pretty reasonable price.
Yeah, definitely. And Tyler Duffy on the other side, I know the Blue Jays, it's just kind of just the stay away, I think, for Duffy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Rangers and Astros, Colby Lewis, Lance McCullers, over under of 9, Houston minus 150. Lewis is a guy who's frustrating because you don't take him when he's pitching because, one, it's Colby Lewis, and then you pick on him, but he actually pitches pretty well. Mm-hmm. I'm still going to stack the Houston bats tonight against him. I can't see any way around it.
I mean, he has given up at least a homer in 6 straight outings, so there is some upside there. He just hasn't been going the full getting shelled. So I mean, I actually like McCullers better in this matchup, but yeah, Colby Lewis obviously not in play at that price for me.
No, I mean 9,200 is just absolutely ridiculous, crazy. But McCullers, I mean, on the other side, kind of a cheaper guy, the guy who, obviously is going to struggle playing at Boston. I mean, coming back in his 2016 debut. I mean, this guy in 2015 had a ton of upside for GPPs, and I don't mind him here, especially against this Rangers team that just has been kind of so up and down this season, and ran kind of just that middle of the road offense.
Right. And I mean, they have a guy batting under 200, batting fifth. So.
Oh, your boy Prince?
My boy Prince. I mean, there isn't too much to worry about in this Texas lineup other than Beltre, and I just think McCullers has some pretty decent upside tonight.
Yeah, kind of that sneaky, deep tournament play that can
Pivot,
kind of set you apart.
Mm-hmm.
Next one here, you got Diamondbacks and Cardinals, over under a 7. St. Louis minus 154 favorites. Patrick Corbin, Carlos Martinez. I can't really get behind either of these guys. I mean, the over under is 7's there, but I don't know. Against these two offenses, I'm just not too thrilled with either arm.
Yeah, we like Martinez. Obviously, he's a good pitcher, but I don't really trust him against this Diamondbacks team. I think there are better options.
Yeah, on a full slate, I mean, I think you can kind of pivot away.
Mm-hmm.
Yankees and A's here on this next one. You got CC Sabathia going up against Sonny Gray. Over under 7.5. I know it's a great ballpark, but neither a pitcher I really want a piece of.
Mm-mm. Yeah, we were talking about Sonny Gray on the DK and FanDuel sort of show before, and I mean, he's not a target yet, but he's verging on being a target. So I'm not afraid of doing one-offs with this Yankee lineup tonight, especially the lefties.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I think, looking at those guys like Chris Davis, Danny Valencia, they have just hit right-handed or left-handed pitching well, notably well, and especially of late. It's just kind of, I'm more attacking people in this game than looking to take pitchers.
Right.
Next one, Orioles and Angels, kind of a similar boat here. Mike Wright, Hector Santiago, I mean, neither I just see have any sort of potential in the matchups.
Nah.
Yeah, we'll gloss ahead.
Yeah.
Jake Arrieta, Jake Peavy now, Cubs and Giants, over under a 7, minus 172 favorites there for Chicago. Of course you like Arrieta. Of course he's the top option on the slate. It's now the question begins is, does he pay off that price tag? Because he is very expensive, but now he's facing the Giants team that just, they don't allow you to have upside as a pitcher. I mean, a 15.9% strikeout rate. They walk a ton, 11.2%. Arrieta can go 7 innings of one earned ball with 5-6 strikeouts, but it just feels like I can get that production for cheaper.
It's kind of like playing guards against the Celtics.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it's not there.
Them and the Royals are pretty much not much upside you're looking for. But I mean, do you think Arrieta can overcome that and be the outlier there?
I don't necessarily say at 12,800. I mean, he's got to pay off a big time price tag. I mean, he certainly does, and I certainly can see him going, pushing double-digit strikeouts. I mean, it's not out of the question. I mean, he's certainly in play. I just feel like I can spin down to get some bats.
Yeah. And if he even gets like 7 or even 8 strikeouts and then gives up a run and a few hits, you're not necessarily looking like he paid off that price, especially with Nola sitting there,
Yeah, I just think you look at Nola, you look at Cole, Sanchez down low. I think points per dollar wise, I'm kind of leaning towards them tonight.
Mm-hmm. And we're obviously coming for Jake Peavy, so.
Oh, yeah, Peavy. Yeah, no way. Dodgers and Padres, Scott Kazmir versus Christian Friedrich, 7.5 over under. Dodgers minus 142 favorites. I like Kazmir's price tag on FanDuel, $8K. Obviously, going up against the Padres is a favorable spot. Kazmir coming off a strong start, pitched well against the Padres earlier this season, as pretty much anyone has done. They have a big 26% strikeout rate, and I think Kazmir is a really interesting GPP option.
Yeah, and on DraftKings as well, he's overpriced, but I think that 9.5K will keep him a little under-owned. So I kind of like that as a pivot in a tournament. And yeah, a one-off in FanDuel as well. I like that call.
Yeah, definitely. I think he comes in as kind of one of the better points per dollar guys down below on FanDuel that I like.
Right.
So that's going to wrap things up here with the pitcher nail down. Be sure to check out dailyfantasycafe.com for all our great tools and content.